Hello, and welcome to Cultivating Connection through the Exchange, SSE's Gardener-to-Gardener Seed Swap. I'm Sierra Kruger, the SSE Education and Engagement Intern, and I'll be your host for this session. Thank you to Purple Cow Organics for sponsoring this session. As a note, you are welcome to add questions to the chat at any time during this presentation. We will answer as many questions as we can at the end during Q&A. We ask that all participants in Seed the Future grow something good. Be respectful, be curious, be patient, speak from your own experiences, try to avoid jargon, be conscious of intent versus impact, take space or make space, take care of yourself, and by embracing these community agreements, we embrace a collective responsibility to create spaces that are respectful, inclusive, and empowering for all. Today, we're here with Josie Flatgard. Josie, the Exchange and Outreach Coordinator at Seed Savers Exchange. In this position, she coordinates the production of the annual yearbook publication, oversees the online platform and Facebook group, and engages with current and potential exchange listers. With an education background in sustainability, human ecology, and journalism, Josie is passionate about the power of sharing stories and finding connection. A South Dakota native, she's most recently worked on various environmental stewardship efforts, including local garden initiatives. Josie is nurturing a garden of her own for the first time this year and is eager to harvest. Today, Josie will be explaining the exchange. For nearly 50 years, the exchange has been at the core of Seed Savers Exchange. Learn the history of the seed sharing initiative and find out how you can connect to your food system, family, and fellow gardeners by participating. Josie, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Sierra, for that great introduction. And I'm really happy to be here and talking with you all today about the exchange. Today, I'll be sharing about how this platform started, which is the seed sharing initiative facilitated by Seed Savers Exchange, how it has transformed over the years, and then I'll share with you why you might want to consider being a part of the exchange. I'll also spend some time toward the end talking about how to connect with others, request and offer seeds, and really be a part of this initiative. The exchange started as a humble seed swap among gardeners in 1975. SSE co-founders Kent Whaley and Diane Ott Whaley put out a call to gardeners in several Back to the Land magazines, asking seed savers to share their old or unusual varieties so that with the help of others, they could be grown out and saved from being lost forever. It was an exchange of seed among these 29 folks across the country who responded to that call, who laid the foundation for the Seed Savers Exchange we know today. Back then, the exchange had 6 pages, which included a letter from Kent, which is pictured at the right there, companion planting tips, and offerings of seed from gardeners. People passionate about this had sent a quarter and a self-addressed stamped envelope and received this first publication, which you see segments of here. It was named the True Seed Exchange, and that was the name for a few years before it was termed Seed Savers Exchange. And I find it so interesting that in that very first publication, someone in Oklahoma is searching for a speckled butterbean they remember saving. And meanwhile, a person in Illinois is offering up seed from a speckled butterbean, which had been in his wife's family for several generations. Now, this might not be the exact same variety they were looking for, but I think it's so neat to think that this connection was possible really from such a humble beginning. And if you're interested in learning more about the beginnings of the organization, I would urge you to read Diane's memoir, which is really a wonderfully written book that offers really great insight into how things evolved over the years. But over the years, word got out about the seed sharing initiative, And by 1980, more than 300 people were participating in the network. And the 6-page packet evolved into the Exchange Yearbook, as it's now called. Here is the most recent publication of the yearbook. It more closely resembles a phone book and comes in at 496 pages and over an inch thick. At times, the yearbook is confused with SSE's commercial catalog, which came about much later. Both publications offer unique, open-pollinated seed, but the annually printed yearbook is the culmination of hundreds of listers' varieties. And I should note, you may hear me using the terms yearbook and exchange interchangeably at times throughout this session. The overall initiative is called the Exchange, which is the gardener to gardener seed swap. And there are really two platforms used within that. One being this physical yearbook, which is a reflection of the online Exchange website, which was a new addition in 2009. The online version, of course, can be updated or accessed at any time. You can see the sheer diversity of varieties offered through the Exchange with the current numbers here. The Exchange has nearly 350 listers, as we call them, and these are the people offering varieties. Nearly 19,000 total listings are offered, with more than 15,000 of those being unique varieties. And to explain this, you might find that 3 different people are listing seed with the same variety name. The Exchange is the main pathway Seed Savers distribute seed from our seed bank collection, which consists of varieties donated to SSE over the years. During our busiest time, our peak season, which is typically the first quarter of the year, nearly 1,411 seed packets were sent out containing seed from the collection. And Hannah, our inventory technician, takes the seed from cold storage, measures and packages all of this seed. So I think she deserves a shout out for all of that hard work and detail-oriented work that she cares for. Many of the varieties offered on the Exchange are not available anywhere else. The Exchange is truly an unrivaled source of seed that is grown, saved, and shared by home gardeners across the world. Participation in the Exchange primarily comes from folks in North America, with listers also located in Sweden, Denmark, and South Korea. Nearly all 50 states are represented, and the exceptions are Hawaii, Mississippi, North Dakota, and Rhode Island. So if you live in one of those states or you know a seed saver who does, I would urge you to tell them about the Exchange, and let's see if we can get all 50 states represented. Now, these listers offer a variety of seed on the Exchange. All of that seed is homegrown, heirloom, and open pollinated. Homegrown simply means the seeds were not grown by a commercial operation, and they were indeed grown out by you in your own garden. We define heirloom as seed that has been passed down from generation to generation within communities and/or families. Open pollinated seeds are seeds that will grow true to type, so if you plant a seed you saved, it will produce the exact same variety as the original plant. The seeds exchanged are also non-patented, meaning they can be grown, saved, and shared freely. And it's not just vegetable seeds that are shared via the Exchange. Flower, herb, and grain seed is available, plus seeds plus plants that reproduce vegetatively are also offered, like potato tubers, garlic, and apple cinnamon wood. Even fruits, berries, and nuts are frequent varieties offered on the Exchange. In addition, there might be plant types or varieties you've never heard of before, like corn salad or salsify, which were new to me. Of the nearly 19,000 listings on the exchange, more than half of them, about 10,000, are tomatoes. And I wonder if that surprises anybody. The second largest plant type is beans, with 1,772 different varieties of beans. And these numbers fluctuate from year to year based on lister participation. The exchange is a pathway for folks to practice an integral part of seed saving, sharing the seed, along with the stories that help make them so unique. Listings are often accompanied by really incredible stories and descriptions, and here we have two examples of that. This Rizzy softball plum tomato might ring a bell if some of you watched the session with Regina yesterday, who went into great depth with the story and her family's history of this tomato and another variety that her family has been growing for 100 years and counting, she says. And there are also so many beans, like this Brockton horticultural bean. I love looking at all of the types of beans and their shapes and patterns and modeling. And there's just such diversity within beans. This one in particular was introduced by a seed company in Massachusetts in 1885 and has been grown since, meaning it's been grown by folks for about 150 years now. This variety was donated to SSE in 1981 by the bean collector John Withy as part of his collection. And these photos are just portions of a listing that you would see either on the exchange site or on the yearbook. But you would also see a lister code and a description, which we'll talk about later. So, unique stories and histories are some things that make seeds special or especially unique to folks, and a driver behind why they might search or list varieties on the exchange. Beyond that, there are a variety of factors which might include characteristics like superb flavor or unexpected color, great productivity, and it might be a key ingredient in a beloved recipe. The list goes on. These responses that you see on the screen are from the 2022 SSE conference on why people save and share and steward seed. And this is so intertwined with why people share it through an avenue like the exchange. A lot of these responses I noticed include honoring the past or continuing a story for future generations. And I wonder what your why is. Perhaps you relate to some of these reasons, but I would love to hear your reasons for why you save seed in the chat box. Now I will go over a few different reasons beyond that, because there's no way we could go through all of those for being a seed saver and a seed sharer. And I'll be focusing today on the sharing portion specifically. Seeds are truly meant to be shared, and at SSE we believe seeds are really doing their best when they're in soil and they're being grown out and enjoyed by folks. And then the seed cycle continues after that, and the seeds shared with other gardeners to safeguard the varieties in different regions. One point of connection you might find participating in the exchange is that of feeling closer or more intertwined to your local food system. Gardeners might feel empowered to take action by growing heritage seed in their garden. By doing this, you are being intentional about the seed you plant, and you're able to select plants that might invoke meaning for you, and seed that is regionally adapted and will grow well in your conditions. If you're interested in self-sufficiency, saving seed might be a fundamental element for you. You'll already have what you need for the next year, and you'll know exactly where the seed came from. And if you don't or don't have those resources, you'll have connected to a network of seed savers who you're able to call upon for that. Each seed you put into the ground, you'll watch grow throughout the season. You care for it, you nurture it, and you might try to assess problems that might threaten it throughout the season. And that can all leave you connected to the food, feeling connected to the food that you grow and that you eventually eat. And with each seed shared, exchange participants are really creating more resilient food systems and communities. Another form of connection you might find when saving and sharing seed is that to family history. So much meaning can be tied to a certain variety. For example, I recently received a call from a man in Tennessee who remembers a specific tomato his daddy grew when he was a boy. He has been searching for this original Rutgers tomato for years now, and he's trialed many different varieties, with none of them even coming close to the tomato he remembers growing up in the 50s. Now, Rutgers tomato varieties still exist and are available for purchase in many places, even in the Seed Savers collection. There are 12 varieties with Rutgers in the name. And he might trial some of these varieties next season, but they'll need to live up to his visceral memory of this old tomato variety. And he's made it his life's work to locate this variety of a tomato so he can grow it and relish in that memory. If this variety, this original Rutgers tomato, rings a bell for anyone, please reach out to me. I'd love to follow any leads for this and see what we can find. But to me, this really illustrates how food memories can be profoundly transportive. I wonder if there's a variety you remember growing and eating in your childhood. And I urge you to think about plants you harvested from the garden and enjoyed with loved ones. To me, it's fascinating how these food memories are so meaningful and stay with a person for years and years. Seed Savers has seed historians whose job it is to capture these stories that accompany seed. Where did it come from? How did the family prepare it for meals? Seeds have stories to tell, and it's up to us to pass those stories on. Learning about your cultural heritage and family traditions can inform what you grow in your garden, and it can help you connect to the past and help you continue a garden legacy for generations to come. Through the exchange, also, you have the opportunity to connect with fellow gardeners and seed savers, people who have a shared purpose and interest. With this, a requester takes on the role of being a seed steward, being the next person to save seed of the variety so it can be passed on to the next steward, along with the story that makes it so special. It's about having many people across different regions growing out the seed and enjoying the harvest of these unique varieties, and then saving the seed so the cycle continues. Many seed savers in the exchange have been involved and active for many years, some for 20, 30, even more than 40 years. And I commend them for that. That's a really dedicated thing to do. During that time, they've all developed this unequivocal wisdom, and many are willing to pass that knowledge on to someone who is eager to learn. A few years back, a former lister lost their seed collection to a fire and was able to rebuild it with the help of exchange participants. A story about the unfortunate situation was published in Seed Savers Heritage Farm Companion, and this person, he had been an exchange lister for several years, and so had distributed seed from their collection to other gardeners. Some of those folks who had stewarded the seed sent it back, and in addition, varieties that had been part of the lister's collection were sent as samples from Seed Savers' own seed bank collection. This rebuilding wouldn't have been possible if they had been the only ones growing the seed. Now, I invite you to think about your reason to save and share seed. and think about what type of connection you're looking to foster. It's different for everyone and can be deeply personal and multifaceted. But whatever your reason, and if it doesn't fit into these categories that I mentioned, I encourage you to consider joining the exchange. There are a few different ways to be involved. One way is to be a lister and offer the seeds you've saved to other gardeners. And if you don't have seed to share just yet, there's also the option of being a requester. We're not just looking for more folks to list seeds, but also folks who can participate by being those stewards. You can be the person who requests the seed, grows it out, saves it, and shares it with other gardeners for years to come. Many people who are experienced seed savers have accumulated great collections and are getting older. New seed stewards will be needed, and that could certainly be you. I think these first two roles are equally as important, and in order to keep seed viable, it needs to be grown out, and you don't have to be a gardening expert. Just know a few seed saving basics and have the space to grow out and save the seeds, and also the willingness to learn how to save it if you don't know it already. Throughout this conference, you may be hearing over and over the importance of saving seed and sharing it with others. And I urge you, if you're passionate about this, to please talk about it in your circles, whether that's online or in your geographical neighborhood. The more people who know about this and the more seed and stories are shared, the more community can be built around this. At the beginning of the exchange, word of mouth was really a main avenue to share this message and the mission. Today, even with technological advancements that we're using today for the conference, I think it's still important to connect, share wisdom, and encourage involvement by word of mouth within your own spheres. If you're an experienced seed saver or just beginning your seed journey, you are welcome to participate in the exchange. This is a graphic showing the cycle seeds go through for the exchange. So you might already have seed, or if you don't, you request it from the exchange, grow it out, these open pollinated heirloom seeds, and make sure to isolate the varieties if you're saving the seed. And throughout the season, record characteristics of the seed, how it looks, how it grows, how it tastes. And then at the end of the season, you're invited to share it with others through the exchange. And then the cycle continues. And like I mentioned, it used to be listers communicated with each other by word of mouth or through snail mail, becoming mailbox friends, as they called themselves. And that still might happen occasionally. We now have features like PayPal listed on listers' profiles on the exchange site, as well as email to communicate with. We also have a Facebook group dedicated to the exchange, where you are encouraged to share about seeds you would like to share, ask seed saving questions, and share photos of your garden process. Here too, if there's a certain variety you're searching for and it's not in the yearbook or on the online exchange, you can tell people all you know about it and its characteristics, its location grown, and any other details that could be helpful. And who knows, you might be able to find a lead. Like I mentioned before, varieties from the Seed Savers collection are offered on the exchange. For some of those varieties, we simply don't have much information. Since Seed Savers simply doesn't have the capacity to grow out each of these varieties, nor would it be suitable to attempt doing so for some that have different growing seasons, the collection documentation project was started. It's a small community science initiative in which folks identify Seed Savers varieties, in the yearbook or on the exchange site, which don't have descriptions, such as this bean here, Blanche McGee. They're then able to request up to 3 varieties to grow in their garden and evaluate throughout the season. It culminates in the writing of descriptions, which really help bring the variety to life. This offers folks a chance to be involved with Seed Savers' work and hopefully results in folks requesting the previously descriptionless seed. In 2021, participants grew a variety of plants and shared these really great photos with us. They ended up in the yearbook that year. If you'd like to be involved with this initiative, you can email exchange@seedsavers.org. Another way to be involved and connect to other seed savers is through the Community Seed Network. It is a joint initiative of Seed Savers Exchange and Seed Change, which is based in Canada. CSN's mission is to support community-led seed stewardship by offering a platform to connect people to projects to each other, and everyone to seed. If you're involved in a seed library or seed swap, or interested in starting one of those things, or if you're simply an individual who is excited about the world of seeds, CSN has resources and a network to plug into. One really great aspect of this is that you can mark yourself as a mentor or search for folks who have done so in order to connect with other folks on that platform. There's also an associated Facebook group you could join. Now we'll get into how to use the exchange. I'll first talk about how to search for seed varieties to steward, and after that, I'll go through how to offer seed. And first, there are a few things to know. There is no charge to participate in the exchange. You are welcome to browse the exchange without creating an account, but you will need to create a login to see people's email addresses or other contact information in order to request seeds. So now I'll go ahead and walk you through a few pages and show you how you might navigate the exchange website. So if you go to exchange.seedsavers.org, this is the page you're welcomed by. There are a few different ways you could search for varieties here. You could start your search using the search bar in the upper right-hand corner, or you could use the green button that says Start Searching Seeds, and that's the route we'll go with. It will lead you here where you can search by plant group, and with this function you might be open to finding new to you seeds, or you might just be browsing to see what's available on the exchange. It's pretty easy to get lost in here looking at all of the interesting varieties and the names and the descriptions. So I urge you, if you have a rainy afternoon, to look into this. On the other hand, if you have a particular variety in mind, you could use that search bar I mentioned. So to do that, you could enter a keyword that is in the variety name. So in this case, I searched grandma, and it showed 23 entries matching that. Now, the search will only find matches if the word is in the variety name. So if it's in the description, it might not come up. But you can see on the left there that you can filter the results down by plant group, plant type, by state, and even look at seeds with photos to narrow down your search.